Guys, welcome back to the channel. Today I am doing my second tier list ever, the Spider-Man villain tier list. I didn't really want to do a ranking because I wasn't sure how I was going to do that, so I just pulled up a tier list and I thought it'd be a little easier. And then in the future I'm going to rank the actors. I'm going to rank all the MCU movies again, plus the TV shows. And I might possibly do a Spider-Man Final Battle ranking. We'll see on time because I also want to do the Scream franchise and the Karate Kid franchise. So without further ado, let's get right into it. I'm just going to start off, I just put them in a random order. So this villain, the guy from the original Iron Man and Spider-Man Far From Home, I'm just going to put it right in the meth tier. He doesn't really do very much either in Iron Man or Spider-Man. This is the only one that technically has been in 2 MCU products. He doesn't do very much. He's just the guy that Obadiah Stane yells at, and Mysterio yells at him too. So, not much to say there. Next up, I think this is the first shocker. No matter what, he's going to go on the bad tier or the awful tier. I don't care for the first shot. Now, neither of the shockers are good. They're both bad villains. Some of the worst Spider-Man villains on this tier list. And as a whole, neither of them do very much. I'm going to also I like the second one just a bit more because he does a bit more. But neither of them do very much. One of them just gets vaporized, essentially. And then the other one just gets webbed. So, neither of them are interesting. Probably one of the worst villains is the Scorpion. I think that's what this is. He doesn't do anything except fail an arm steal on a boat, essentially. Now we have the Green Goblin. A little kind of interesting nonetheless, but very forgettable. So, yeah, we're going to put in the bad tier. Now we move on to So, yeah, I don't care for this version of Green Goblin. He's not that good. And doesn't offer very much, doesn't do very much, except just almost kill Peter Parker in Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. So, I guess he's a meh villain, and he's just meh. That's all I can really say. So, yeah, he's going in the bad tier. Next up, we have this guy. I don't even know his name, so that's why he's going in the awful tier. That's not why. I like him a little bit more than the other 2 villains in the awful tier, because at least he sort of is a henchman, or he's like the main henchman to Kingpin, so that's kind of interesting, but this character doesn't do very much other than that. Now you have the Lizard. He's going to go in the okay tier. Even with No Way Home, they don't even do very much. In The Amazing Spider-Man, he's a kind of interesting villain who wants to fix his arm a bit and what he did to it. So he creates this. He experiments with lizard DNA, and to be honest, none of that really works for me. And especially near the end, where it gets really cartoonish, with him trying to turn the city into lizards. And to be honest, none of that really works. So he's just gonna go in the tier. Okay, tier. And then Spider-Man No Way Home, I was expecting them to change the look because he looks like a dinosaur, not a lizard. Even one of the one of the characters mentions that. So, kind of interesting. And overall, do enough with him in No Way Home to make me put him higher. Rhino, yeah, he's going in the awful tier. I put him ahead of a couple of the other ones just because he's so over the top that he's kind of funny. But Paul Giamatti as this character, he's a pretty great actor. He's been in a bunch of stuff. He was in this John Adams show pretty recently. And overall, I did not like this film. He's in one sequence in the opening, and then he's in the very end, and then they even cut off the action sequence, so you don't even get to see it. So, overall, definitely one of the worst villains. Before I go on, comment below if this is the first shocker in Spider-Man Homecoming, or if I'm just delusional and don't know what I'm doing. I don't know who that guy is, but I think it's the first shocker, because he has the beard and he's bald, so, yeah. Then you have Dr. Doc Ock. You know where he's going. He's going around the awesome tier. Such a good villain. He's fantastic. Overall, he's fantastic in No Way Home. He's fantastic in Spider-Man 2, especially Spider-Man 2, where they even show his left before he put on the tentacles, and show what he's like. And then once he puts on the tentacles, he's great. Like he has this whole plot line where he's so kind of full of himself and wants to do this that and then he kind of loses people because of that. I think it's pretty interesting, and I think this makes her a great villain. Great action sequences like the bank sequence, the train fight, the bridge fight in Spider-Man No Way Home. I think in the No Way Home they develop him even more, where they focus more on his good side. Where once they put the chip in, and then they kind of focus on that rather than just play him as a villain the whole time and then fix him at the end. So they fix him right in the middle. I think that was the right way to go, because technically he's only a villain because the chip was broken. Shriek. I'm gonna put it on the bad tier. And I also there's some Venom villains like Shriek, Riot, and Carnage on there. I don't think he might be from Venom. I don't know. Oh, I think he actually is from Venom. Don't ask questions. So really, I don't care for Shriek at all. Like, she does some things as a whole, but as a whole, she just doesn't do very much. Like in the beginning, her as well as Cletus Cassidy are sort of this couple that are very sort of broken, and then near the end, she just becomes a mustache. Well, not mustache, just a regular villain that doesn't do very much. So yeah, just gonna put her in the bad. Didn't care for her. Jenner Jameson, I'm gonna just put him in the good. I think he's a lot of fun playing this sort of very rude, new, news operator for the Daily Bugle. I think that's all a lot of fun, and the fact that he kind of perceives Spider-Man as a menace. Also, they bring him back for Tom Holland's universe for No Way Home, and I thought that was pretty fun. And overall, I don't really have any problems with him, but like I can't really put him any higher because he doesn't do enough for me to put him higher. Now you have the Tinkerer. I'm gonna put him in the I'm gonna put him in the mech tier because he doesn't do that much, but he's kind of the guy that makes the gadgets. It's always fun to see that kind of character, the guy that makes the gadgets, and overall, that's kind of what makes me put him a little higher than a bunch of the others. And I think he's a pretty fun villain. Next up, you have Green Goblin. You know where he's going. The awesome tier. I absolutely love Willem Dafoe in this role, especially in No Way Home, where he's probably the best used villain in No Way Home because they completely develop him a lot more. You see sort of I think you even see because I think the first one plays a little bit on the cheesy side, where you have him switching between these two personalities. Willem Dafoe does an amazing job at that, but then he does it even better in No Way Home. And the fact that he's the one that actually kills May, spoiler alert, and all of that just works amazingly. Next up is Kingpin. I'll put him in the good just because I feel like I just don't care for the look of him. But as a whole, I really do like Kingpin. I think he's absolutely an interesting part of Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, where they show just enough of his backstory to why he's a villain, what he's gonna do, that I don't think they overplay it, but they play it just enough where I think it's just right. And he does this just because he wants to steal his family from another universe. And he, instead of accepting the fact that he's the reason his family died, he doubles down on that and proceeds to build machines to try to snatch them from other universes. A pretty compelling little plot. I just don't care for the look. That's it. Electro, gonna go in the good tier. I think as a whole, in Spider-Man, Amazing Spider-Man 2, he would have probably been in the okay or even the meh or bad tier. But I think I'm putting him in the good because I think No Way Home showed a bit more of a cool Jamie Foxx in the MCU, sort of. And I think all of that's a lot of fun. And as a whole, I don't really have any huge problems with, with Electro in No Way Home. And I think I like how he's still kind of figuring out what he wants to do. Because he was always teetering between the good and bad side, especially and I think they do it a lot better in No Way Home than they do in Amazing Spider-Man 2. And I love the scene where they're in the safe house, and then the things boop, beep, beep, beep. And each one sort of goes on and very slowly. And then once you're at the last one, because you know how powerful Electro is, you know what he can do. And I think that works perfectly. And that's why I do like him a lot more in No Way Home. Green Goblin from The Amazing Spider-Man 2. I'll put him in meh tier because I think he did a bit more than a bunch of the other characters in the bad. He actually is the one that killed Gwen Stacy. But the problem here, they just rush his character arc. I mean, I mentioned that a while ago they should have split Amazing Spider-Man 2 into 2 movies. And I think Green Goblin, with the plotline involving Peter's parents, should have been an Amazing Spider-Man 3. And then Electro in that plotline should have been an Amazing Spider-Man 2. And then they start developing everything. And I think that would have been a much better way to go down than just putting it all into one movie. He's sort of a victim of the problems of the movie where, like, there's just too many plot lines. The villain, this one doesn't have the villain problem exactly like Spider-Man 3 does, but I think he's of the 2 main villains, I guess, he's definitely he's the weaker of the 2 when it comes to him or Electro. But as a whole, it's just kind of a weird villain. I do like Dane DeHaan in the role of Harry Osborn, but the fact that they make him look like a goblin, I would say the look looks quite a bit better than either the Green Goblins did in the Tobey Maguire trilogy. I think it looks kind of cool, but it looks a little goofy at the same time. But overall, the villain, So yeah, Venom. I'm gonna go right in the bad tier. I don't hate Venom as a whole. I hate Topher Grace in the role. Like, even the picture that's on the tier list is literally the scene where he completely does, like, the face reveal thing, and it just doesn't work. As a whole, I don't care for this villain at all. I never really liked Venom or Topher Grace in the role as Eddie Brock playing as Venom. And it's just kind of a weird plotline to go down because I feel like if he had a more developed role as the character, this could have been a much better villain. But they don't do anything with the symbionts. So, like, they don't really do enough with it to make this character actually interesting. And even when he's just Eddie Brock, he's still kind of very whiny and it just doesn't work. And that's why going right there. Sandman, I'm going to put him in the good tier because I did like him quite a bit in Spider-Man 3. No Way Home didn't do very much with him, but in Spider-Man 3, I like what they did with him involving sort of the him with this little plot line. It's a little odd why he's a criminal, even though, like, I think that plot line's weird. I think some of the Sandman action is great, but overall, as a villain, I don't know if he really quite works. Like, I don't know. I always had a tough time with this one because I like where they end this character in Spider-Man 3, and I think it actually would have made more sense to bring back, I think, a different character from Spider-Man 3. There are 2 other characters you could have brought back. Why'd you bring back this one? I think it would have made more sense to bring back, I think it could have made more sense to bring back Eddie Brock or Venom than Sandman. So, I've always had mixed feelings on it. I'm going to move it down to the okay. But overall, I think he's just an okay villain. Riots. This one's tricky. I'm gonna put him in the meh tier 'cause I don't think Riot really does anything wrong. I think as a symbiote, the Riot symbiote works. I think Carlton Drake as a character is pretty good. But as a whole, they don't really do enough with Riot. Same with Venom from Spider-Man 3. They don't do enough with Riot to make him interesting and make me want to put him any higher. So, now we have New Goblin. I'm going to put in the good tier. I've always sort of liked the New Goblin. I don't like the whole part in the middle where they may have the amnesia. I don't like that at all. But really, I think this is a pretty good villain for the most part. They don't do anything really wrong with him. But at the same time, I think they could have handled his arc a bit better, especially in the middle. But I think his arc throughout the whole trilogy, I do think works pretty nicely. And as a villain, I do think I think James Franco in the role is decent. Some of his action sequences, I think, are pretty bad, like the one at the beginning of the movie, because the CGI is just not good. But as a whole, other than really that and then weird amnesia thing in the middle, I think his arc throughout the trilogy works for me. And overall, I do think this is a good villain. Vulture from Spider-Man Homecoming, going right in the awesome tier. The sort of, like, mech suit they put him in, I think, is great, and I think overall this is a great villain. I've always liked the Vulture from the beginning. I think he was almost my number 1, but I think No Way Home made these top 2 villains just a bit better. He's still an awesome villain, though, and I think he works. I like the sort of plot line involving him and his and his colleagues trying to sell weapons to make some money. And I think that plays out really nicely. I don't really have any huge problems with it. I think Michael Keaton's fantastic in the role. And overall, it makes for a great villain. Now you have the Prowler. I'm almost at the awesome tier, but I'm just going to put in the great tier because I don't think he does enough to put him in the awesome tier. Overall, I think this is a great villain who is a villain, but not really as unremorsable or unredeemable as Kingpin, where could have been. If he wasn't shot, I think he could have realized what he's doing. I think that scene where Miles Morales just takes off the mask, and then he stops. He doesn't just go on with it, and then he ends up getting shot in the process. What a great villain! I've always really liked the Prowler. I think he's a great villain in this movie, and overall, he really works here. Carnage. Just gonna put in the okay tier. He's an okay villain, to be honest. I really like Woody Harrelson. He's one of the better actors to play a Venom/Spider-Man villain. And overall, I think he really works in this movie. But other than that, I can't say I love this villain or the movie. It's an hour and a half, but I wish we got more from Carnage and maybe done 2 movies. So other than that, I don't really know how to put him higher, but I kind of want to. So I don't really know. Olivia Octavius, gonna go in the good tier. I've always thought this is a pretty good villain. I think the nice twist right in the middle of the movie where she is sort of a scientist that might potentially help our lead characters, and then she just ends up being a villain. I think that's pretty interesting. Mysterio. I have no idea. I'm gonna put him in the great tier for now because I really like Jake Gyllenhaal in the role. And as a whole, I think they handle his character pretty oddly because at the same time, I think you have a great performance, and I think as the villain giving these hammy speeches, I think is a lot of fun. But I think his plot line is really weird because I think him trying to become a fake superhero is weird because what if real threats actually show up? What if there's another Thanos? It just doesn't quite work for me. But as a whole, I think he's great. I do think it's a great villain because of the performance. Next up is going to be the Scorpion from Spider-Man to the Spider-Verse. Yeah, he's going right in the awful tier. I don't even think he speaks English. I do think the animation of Scorpion is kind of what might put him in the bad tier. Because I think he looks pretty cool. But other than that, he's just such a forgettable villain. And it doesn't work at all. So, yeah, I think I'm just going to start ranking them. I think in the bottom, I'm just going to put this guy because I don't know. I think it's the Shocker. It could be some guy from Venom. I'm not sure. Then you have, I'm going to put Scorpion from Spider-Man Homecoming up next. Then this guy. And then, And then, there you go. And then Rhino from Amazing Spider-Man 2. Just because I think he is kind of fun, but at the same time, he's a bad villain. In the bottom of the bad tier, I think I'm gonna put. I think I'm gonna go the Shocker. Then I'm gonna go Shriek, Green Goblin, and then Eddie Brock. So, and then tier, and yeah, he's going right in the bottom. Then probably I think this is good, to be honest. And at the bottom of the okay tier, I'm going to go with the Lizard because they just don't do enough with him in No Way Home. That looks pretty good. Good tier, Jenner Jameson. Olivia Octavius is probably next. Yeah, I'm okay with this. Great tier, I think this is good. And then awesome tier, pretty much right where I want it. So this is my ranking. So coming in the last place, we have this guy. So there's 27 villains. So number 27 is this guy. 26 is the Scorpion from Spider-Man Homecoming. 25 is going to be the Scorpion from Spider-Man to the Spider-Verse. 24 is this henchman. 23 is Rhino. 22 is Shocker 2. 21 is Shriek. 20 is Green Goblin from Spider-Man to the Spider-Verse. 19 is Venom. 18 is the guy from the original Iron Man / Far From Home. 17 is Riots. 16 is Green Goblin. 15 is Tinkerer. 14 is the Lizard. 13 is Carnage. 12 is Sandman. 11 is Jenner Jameson. 10 is Olivia Octavius. 9 is Great New Goblin. 8 is Elektra. 7 is Kingpin. 6 is wait a minute. 5 is what's it called? Mysterio. 4 is what's it called? Prowler. 3 is Vulture. 2 is Goblin, and 1 is Doc. So overall, this is a great selection of villains, to be honest. And there's a bunch of the ones in the awful tier, but a lot of the awful tier ones at least are not main villains, really. So overall, I think this is a good catalog of villains. But share your tier list or tier ranking in the comments below. So thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and comment down below. And I'll see you guys next time. Adios.